Today we're starting a new siman in Hilchos Chanukah, siman Tov Reish Ayin Vav, which is going to deal with the Berachos that we say on the menorah and some other interesting halachas. So we'll start as we usually do from the Torah. The Torah opens up the siman by saying Hamadlik Belel Rishon Mevorach Shalosh Brachos. Someone who's going to light the menorah on the first night recites three brachos. Number one, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kiddushanu That's the first bracha, and this is the text that us Ashkenazim do. Lahadlikner shel Chanukah. We're going to see that there's going to be other texts. That's what Sfardim do. They take out the shell. We'll learn more about that. Second bracha, Sha'asa Nisim, which is short for Sha'asa Nisim Avoseinu, 9 etc. I mean, my name is one of them, right? Well, and the third is Shechianu, which is short for Those are the three brachas that we say. Let's say a person didn't recite Shechianu on the first night. My master, my father, the Rosh writes, B'teshuva, to Mevorech Belel Sheni O Emasai Shizkor. Says you should recite this bracha on the second night or whenever you remember. We see from over here the idea of reciting Shechianu specifically when you light. Because first he says, do it on the second night, aka when you're lighting, or when you remember. So we'll have to learn more about that.
Very big.
Yeah. There's a whole question over here that the Bach addresses. The Bach comes along and says, wait a second. Afagav the kol midi de mizman lizman kaasi. Something that comes from time to time. It's not always. For example, the mitzvah menorah on Chanukah. Tim avar veloy beirach be'agia zman shuveina mavarach da'avar yoma batul korbano. If you pass the time and didn't recite the bracha, you don't recite the bracha anymore because of the principle of avar yoma batul korbano. Once the day passes, you miss the korban. There's a specific time to bring the animal sacrifice, and if you didn't bring it at that time, you can no longer bring it. So why then are you able to say Shechianu afterwards? I know Davka Babar Shrin Zmano Nimshach Zmano Ba'ata. That's specifically referring to something where the time is not continual. The time to perform that mitzvah doesn't continue on. That it's now or never. It has to be right now. It doesn't continue. If you're going, for example, Bedikas Chametz, talking about checking for Chametz over here. So what happened? So that's a quintessential example of Laman da Amr, according to the opinion who holds to Sarach Levarach Shechianu. According to the opinion who holds you need to say Shechianu when you perform the mitzvah Bedikas Chametz at least. Dim Avar Ubadok. So let's say according to that opinion. Right? Let's say we don't recite a Shechianu, right? As we learned in Bedikas Chametz. But let's say, according to the opinion who holds that you do say Shechianu. Let's say you just said the bracha on the bedika itself, but you didn't say the shechianu according to that opinion. You can't make the bracha anymore. And the reason is because the time frame for when the mitzvah bedikas chametz should be performed has already passed. It's over. Aval habakas neiros chanukah tizmanu nimshach shmoina leilois. However, conversely, when it comes to the mitzvah menorah, it's an 8-day mitzvah over here. 8 days of Hanukkah, 8 days of menorah. And therefore, granted, there's an independent mitzvah to light each night, mitzvah b'fnei atzmo. Nevertheless, Imlo berach belal rishon mevarach acher kach kol zman shelo yavru shmoina leilos. If a person didn't recite the bracha of Shechianu on the first night, he should recite the bracha afterwards, as long as the 8 nights of Hanukkah didn't pass yet. So that's why, he says the Bach, you could say Shechianu later, because it's considered a mitzvah that's a nimshach, it continues. It's a continual mitzvah, it's a hemshach. The loike maharash bedrashos, not like the maharash. He argues. Shekasav she'in tzarech levarach Shechianu. He says that no, if you didn't say Shechianu on the first night, you wouldn't say it afterwards. Obviously.
Does it depend on it must depend on the reason why you don't say it too, right? Obviously.
Well, he's going to hold it's only on the first night.
No, but is it only because you forget to say it, or there's another reason too?
The whole situation is you forgot. The question is, do you do it afterwards? According to the Torah, according to his father that he's quoting the Rosh, according to the Bach's explanation of this, of course you could say it after. It's a continual mitzvah. The Maharash says no. Mitzvah is only for the first night for some reason. I mean, if you really want to know what pshat, what the explanation of this Maharash is, you look in the Minhagi Maharash and Simin Tov Kuf Mem.
Now, each day that you light or each night that you light is a mitzvah in itself.
Yes.
So, but the reason why you wouldn't say the Shechianu on the second night of a mitzvah point to the Marash, I guess, is that it's when, you already did it last night, so it's not a Shechianu, it's not something new anymore.
Maybe. I mean, that could be one explanation. We could play guess who all we want, but unless we look it up, we won't know. Could be. Ga mahara mitz kosav b'tishuvaso t'sorach levarach Shechianu belel shenim lo beirach rishon. Oh, another rabbi. Maharam Mintz also writes that you have to recite the bracha of Shechianu on the second night if you didn't do so on the first night. Ava, in beirach Shechianu kishro ner Chanukah, afal pishla hidlik voice alayla shuvenim avarach zman. However, if you recited the bracha of Shechianu when you saw the menorah, you saw it, even though you didn't light it, you would not say another Shechianu. In other words, we're going to learn, and it's explicit Gemara in Shabbos Chav Gimel, which is going to say, let's say a person saw a menorah that was lit. We're going to learn about it also. And he knows he's not going to light one. He's not going to get a chance to light it. Which brachos could he say on the menorah, which can't he? We're going to learn about that. So that's what this is saying over here. If you said Shechianu, you're covered. You wouldn't say it again. Now, another insightful tidbit that we could glean from this is you see that Shechianu, even though technically, and we're going to learn about this also, you could say it even in the middle of the marketplace. You could say it anywhere technically. Nevertheless, it's certainly preferable to do it on the menorah. Upashid hu, and this is an obvious halacha. Midi dahavi, this is similar. Aroya pri chodesh uberech shechianu b'riyah. Let's say you saw a new fruit that you never saw, and you recited the bracha of Shechianu. Teshuv ein sarech levarach b'shas achilo. Now you don't need to make this bracha when you eat. Why? Because since you already saw the thing over here, you're good. You already said the bracha when you saw it. The bracha works of Shechianu. Our custom is we only say Shechianu when we actually eat the fruit. Kedel simin reish chafeh, as it's discussed in simin reish chafeh over there. But nevertheless, we see that at least in a imperfect world post facto, if it was b'di'evid, if the person recited the bracha when they saw it, still fulfill their obligation. It works. There's actually different opinions. On Rosh Hashanah, we covered this 2 years ago. Well, now it's a year and a half ago. In Simin Tov Kuf Pei Gimel, when we were learning about the Simonim over there, we saw the Kaf HaChaim, others was discussing how you could say Yehi Ratzon, even if you're not going to eat it, even if you're going to see it. And there are different texts based on the Yerushalmi. It could be it's not just about eating it, it's also about seeing it. So we see that the vision helps. But then the Bach quotes, this is what I was waiting for, V'kaimal Nami, we hold the Gemara in Erev in Daf Mem, Zman Oimro Afilu Bashuk. You could say Shachianu, even in the marketplace. In the middle of nowhere, you could say Shachianu. Ve'ein Sorech Lachzor V'lo Oimro Alakos. You could say it even in the marketplace. You don't need to return and say it on a cup, on a coast. So you could say it in the middle of nowhere. You don't need to say it ala coast. Aval, right, technically. He's talking about not on Hanukkah, on a cup of wine. He's talking about on a regular yontif. You could technically say shechianu anywhere. Aval im loy beirach, preferably we do it on the gayin. Aval im, like we learned in Halakas Neres, that was the whole thing. In Reis Sama Gimel with women doing it when they light, not so simple. Aval, yeah, very good. Aval im lo beirach below rishon klal sodach levarach below sheni. If you didn't say the bracha at all on the first night, you need to say it on the second night. Even though your wife lit for you on the first night, nevertheless, you did not, the bracha of Shechianu, you didn't exempt yourself with.
Funny, we learned she could be yotze with him, but he can't be yotze with hers now.
Yeah.
We talked about how she should, technically shouldn't say Shechianu on the lighting of candles, be yotze with the husband, doesn't.
Right.
Two-way street here.
Right. This is interesting. Even though so what this is saying, hold on. What this is saying is talking about on Hanukkah. This is going to come up more in the next simon and simon Tafrei Shai and Zayin. If a person cannot light at all, his wife could light on his behalf, but he still doesn't feel his obligation of Shechianu. Okay, so what was the point you're making?
I'm saying, we learned she should try to be yotze with his Shechianu, even though nowadays we know, hey, that.
Are you talking about on Hanukkah or regular Yontif?
Regular, stop talking about.
Regular Yontif, correct. But this is no other option. The guy's on a trip, whatever.
No, I understand, but he can't be yotze. He's yotze with her lighting the candles for the house that would be yotze's on.
The question is if it would be reverse. If he would be lighting for her, she was on a business trip. She wouldn't be yotze Shechianu either.
No,
it's not a he, she. Shechianu, you got to do yourself, it seems like.
She's always yotze with his Shechianu when he's lighting when she's there.
Yeah, that's because it's Shemei Kona. When you listen, it's like you yourself said it, but if you're in a different location, there's something special and unique about Shechianu that, the truth of the matter is, this whole halacha requires more understanding. Why could it be that a person's spouse is going to light for them, they're not there, and they don't even hear it, and they fulfill their obligation? What's the lumdus behind that? So we're going to have to learn about that. Usually we say if you want to fulfill your obligation with something, you have to be in the same place, you have to listen to them, and then listening is like answering Shemei Kona. Ma'ishna da Anisa Mevarach Kol Yoim Kol Yoima Shachionu Mevarach El Echad Yoim. It's a good question. We say the bracha on the miracle of Hanukkah daily, not just Al Anisim.
No, I'm saying
Anisim. Yeah. But Shechianu, one and done.
Right.
Why do we only say it once? Based on what you just said before, mitzvah is only new once too. The Hanukkah miracle happened every single night with miraculously enough oil. Aval Shechianu in the Varch B'Kol Laila, Afal Pisha B'Kol Laila Neschadesh Anes. But Shechianu, you don't say the bracha on that every single night, even though that every single night the was new. The Fisha Kfar Beirachnu Oisa B'Larishin. You already said the bracha on the first night. Ala Shemanahu on that oil. Ve'im b'Shemen Neschadesh Davar Ala Nase Bonei Shehispik Hakan. The actual oil isn't new. It's just that a miracle happened that it lasted. Okay, that answer is a little difficult to understand.
Mhm.
For OJ Shalomar, the Bircha Shechianu Hiba al Simchas Libo Shel Odom Sheigil Izman Hadlakas Ner Chanukah. This is my favorite one. The Bracha of Shechianu comes because of the happiness that exists in a person's heart. Oh, now I reach the time, this special time of Chanukah, and I can perform this special mitzvah. V'shem hadlakas neirus echad hu. The name of lighting candles is one. V'su de kol ches yoimi de Chanukah kechad yomi chashivi. All 8 days of Chanukah are considered like one. You're just happy Chanukah's in. It's exciting in the beginning. But the miracle is a new miracle every single time. In other words, Shechianu, you're excited. It's the first night. Everyone's all pumped. By the second night, by the end, it's already okay. It's just whatever. 8 nights of this. But the miracle at the end of the day happened for 8 nights. That's why you say Shas Nisim for 8, Shechianu only 1. That is the Bach on Sif Aleph.
I try to be excited every night.
Look, David, we're not all at the level that you're at to have that excitement, Simcha Shel Mitzvah. We're trying to work on ourselves here.
I can't. Every night is, it's every night it's different.
Yeah. What does the Shulchan Aruch over here say? He says, Hamadlik Belel Rishon Mevarich Shlosh Brachos. Like we just saw in the Torah, you're lighting on the first night, you say 3 brachos. V'adagner Shel Chanukah, Shel Sanisim and Shechianu. V'im lo beir asman below Rishon Mevarich below Sheni. Oh, Kishizku. You didn't say the bracha first night? Do it on the second night or wherever you remember. Comes along the Magen Avram in his introduction to this simon. He says multiple points. Most of them have to do with technicality, the text of the bracha. I'm not into that stuff so much. But this is what I am into. Im shachach v'hidlak ner echaz pachos min haroyu. Let's say you messed up, you made a mistake. It was the third night of Hanukkah and you only lit 2. Yad b'kod. Light more, v'lo yivarach, but don't say a bracha.
When did this happen? I mean, when did you remember? I guess it was
After you lit.
after you lit, like right away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ki bracha she'asa b'techila al chiyav kol haneres asa. The initial bracha that we recited covers anything that will follow, even if there was an interruption between the completion of that lighting. I thought that was a very insightful point. That's Sif Aleph. Let's go straight to the Mishna Berura over here. Mishna Berura opens up the simon by saying, "Begemara v'kol aposkim isa ner shel Chanukah lahadlik ner shel Chanukah." That's what it says in the Gemara. And that's what all the poskim say. Pinkas of Marshal. That's what the Marshal writes in the Shilos and Shuvasim in Pehei. By Shlomo Luria, the Am Shel Shlomo. Ach shekasav sheyomer she la Chanukah. He doesn't want you saying Shel Chanukah. He wants you saying She la Chanukah. Mila achas, one word. Velo Shel Chanukah shte milos. Not Shel Chanukah, 2 words. Va'olam eino hagen lahakbeh bazeh. The world, no one has the custom to be stringent with this. You look at the he doesn't even say the text. Oh, he does. If you look at, you see, we missed this before. My fault. If you look at the Shulchan Aruch over here, on his text of the bracha, Mevarach Shalosh Brachos, V'hadlik Ner Chanukah.
No shell.
He takes out the shell. And that is what Nusach Sfar does as well, if I'm not mistaken. And it's very funny because people who are buying oil, the pre-mades especially, it's very good and they have different lengths of how it can last. We discussed that actually last year. That Erev Shabbos, you got to be careful. It's printed a lot of times. It comes with the handout card with the brachos on it. A lot of times the handout cards say lahadlik ner Chanukah because it's Hasidim who are making these things, and they go Nusach Sfard. So anyone Ashkenaz who's using that has to realize, be careful and add the shell.
It's not market.
No, but the question is, what's our custom? I mean, it's the opening Mishna Berura in this simon. This is what the Magen of Ramazan. This is what they're all talking about over here.
Right.
So, for sure, you feel your obligation, but the question is, what's our custom and what do we do? Bazman hazeh, we say, velo ubezman. We say at the end of Shas Nisim, bazman hazeh, not ubezman. Vihigianu lizman hazeh. Shechianu vikimanu vihigianu. What's the next word?
Lazman.
Lazman
He's
hazeh.
saying Liz.
Says the Mishnah Berura, don't lie, lit it.
Lo b'patach.
Shechianu vigianu lizman hazeh.
Okay.
Halam b'chirik, lo b'patach. Chirik is under the lama, there's that one dot,
Well,
and then you pronounce it
I guess
E.
take a look at other
Chirik. Lizman has as opposed to the patach, which would be a line under, which would be la. Now this is a surprising Mishnah Berura because I don't know if most people do this, so we'll have to see about that. Next Mishnah Berura will come back then. Oz v'hadar kishi yizkor roitzelomer kishi yizkor b'shah haleilos b'shah sadlaka. When you remember other nights when you light, the Lofush specifies. You remember it after you lit? Don't say it that night. Better to say it like before you light on the second night rather than after you light on the first night, if you remember right then and there. There's a longer Sharat Sion on this. Commenting on this idea, if you remembered after the lighting, you would not say the bracha. Comes along the Chafetz Chaim in the Sharat Sion down here. And he says this is the Pischei Olam quoting the Yeshua's Yaakov Roitz Eloimer. Shiyur levarach zman biyoim acher beis habaka. Right, as was clear, you say the bracha of Shechianu on another night. Amra mimeru zeh belel sheni, belel shmini. Let's just have it on the 8th night. I can't wait anymore. Mamelu yizbat lagamri bircha Shechianu. So if you're not gonna say the bracha of Shechianu now, it's now or never. Like you said before. That requires more research what the halacha would be in that scenario and what you should do. Even though we typically hold that you could say Shechianu anywhere, even in the marketplace, because it goes in the essence of the holiday. It's possible it could apply over here on Chanukah as well. That it's going on the actual time of Chanukah because that's when the miracles and miraculous acts occurred. Just preferably they said, okay, you should say the bracha of Shechianu when you actually light. So therefore you'd be able to say it even after you lit if it's the 8th night. I found a similar logic in the Meiri. This is what he says. Someone who doesn't have what to light with, and he's not in the place where you could see a menorah either. He's in the middle of Timbuk 3. Some say you should just say Shechianu then and there in Shasa Nisim. Even though there's no menorah that he lit or that he could see. V'shasa Nisim b'kol eilos, and he should say, so some say he would say Shechianu and Shasa Nisim on the first night, and on the other nights he would just say Shasa Nisim. V'hadvarim near him, and says the Meiri, that's what appears would be the halacha. Says the Sharat Sion, Ad kan lashonu, until here is the wording of the Meiri, v'sarech ian. This requires more research, what the halacha would be in this scenario. And that's why we're here, to do more research.
Hmm.
So let's see what's cooking
So he says at the end
under
of
the
the day
hood.
that
Yes.
if you don't light yourself, anytime you see, you say Asa Nisim Shachiyanu on the first night, I
Even if
guess.
you didn't see a menorah, according to the Meiri.
You still say Shachiyanu.
Yeah, on the first night of
Asa
Shasanisim.
Nisim?
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
Comes along the Mizvah over here. Let's go straight to the meat and potatoes over here. And when I say meat and potatoes, I mean Behigianu Lizman Hazeh. Lizman mashmo stam. When you say Lizman Hazeh, it's general. Lazman mashmu uso Lizman mesuyim v'yadua. When you say Lazman, it's a specific time that's well known. Shenikud hapatach. So now we're going to get a lesson in diktuk, which is probably people's most least favorite subject in the entire Torah. People are not into diktuk. I'm also not such a diktuk guy. I like trups more than diktuk, but doesn't matter what I like. Shenikud hapatach memashmish b'makom loimer lahazman behei yediyah. When you say lazman, you have the patach. It's something that is specific, that is well known. The patach, that one line, the lazman, that serves, or in any letter, that serves instead of using a hey. Hey yediyah. How do you translate hey yediyah? It's a hey that puts an emphasis on something that's known. Over here, we're talking about a specific time. Zman hazeh. Below zman stam. We're not talking about a just any time over here, just a vague time. Seemingly, you should say la zman hazeh. It's a specific time. Even so, the poskim say lizman. She'ein tzarich lahazkir shemedubar bezman yadua kevin shemiyad achrei ha'imra hazeh shemoyer al zman yadua. You don't need to mention a specific time, since immediately afterwards you're going to be saying hazeh, which refers to a known time. You're saying lizman hazeh. So it's possible to say it with the chirik. So it's very funny because, right, that's what I was going to say. Because the Mishna Berura himself is pretty clear. My way or the highway. It's a one-sided situation over here. There's no room for compromise. And he doesn't say why. He went to saying Lizman Hazeh. He does not say why. From over here in those Vahadar Mishna Berura. No. The Mishna meant it's possible to say Lizman Hazeh, but you could say Lizman Hazeh. This is very interesting, no?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have their whole explanation. Really, it's a specific time, but we know it's a specific time anyways with Hazeh, so you don't need the la. Talk about something technical, but an eye-opener
Yeah.
for most people
With
that no one
expensive
really knows about. You could just share this. What did you say?
It doesn't have the siddur I have here.
Wow. Halamed srichlios benikud shva. Well, the Baisal is shvia kalin shva after shva. Can have a shva after shva. Aren't you about Kari? You know about this more than me.
No, I'm Balkori, a third string quarterback. Balkori.
Ba'oshachre zayin hi b'shva. All right, look, Balkor is they know about this. What are you looking for?
You're quoting about the Shva? I mean, is it Shva? No, Shva. No. Oh my.
Yeah, all right, no.
Prayers. Rosh Hashanah, the Rambam, no.
Okay. Amadlik below Rishon Mevarach Ladlik Ner Chanukah. In Mevarach Ma Halakas Ner Chanukah. Why do you say Ladlik Ner Shel Chanukah, not in Halakas Ner Chanukah? Okay, that's another technicality he goes to Sugim Sachim. This is a Ner Shel Chanukah. The Shulchan Aruch says Ner Chanukah. He takes out the shell. This I'm interested in. V'tayim Yishum Shener Shabbos Mutter Le'Shtam Yishloiro. On Shabbos, as we know, not only is it permissible to get pleasure from the oil that's being lit with the wicks, but it's preferable. Vikar Techanas Chazal B'nei Shabbos Yishlo Yeshu B'choshech. That's all purpose that we don't sit in the dark. Mevarchin Ner Shel Shabbos. So we say the bracha of Ner Shel Shabbos. Sheperusho lo Adam Atzmo V'gam LeShabbos. Explanation over here is a person himself and Shabbos. Aval Ner Chanukah Sha'aser L'Shtamish L'Oiro. However, when it comes to the Ner Chanukah, it's prohibited for a person to get pleasure from the light. In Oimrim Kain Rak Ner Shel Chanukah. Rak Ner Chanukah. Excuse me. Chanukah, where you can't get pleasure from it. You don't say this. You say Ner Chanukah, Hainer Shanir Miyuchad L'Chanukah Bilvad. In other words, it's unique to Chanukah alone. So in other words, Sfardim would hold anyone who davens Such Sfar to go in like the Shulchan Aruch that he says Ner Chanukah. Why do you take out the shell? On Shabbos you do Ner Shel Shabbos. One explanation is Ner Shel Shabbos is for yourself. You're going to benefit from it. Unlike Chanukah where you're not. Okay. The Shal Shuvas Halachos Ketanus, Hilak Aleph Siman Gimel, says for Kabbalistic reasons, you should say Ner Chanukah. That's another reason. Shari Tshuva provides another reason. Why do we say Lahad L'Kner? This is a good review of the Prima Gadan that we learned. Siman Reisham Gimel and the halachas of lighting on Shabbos. Why do we say Lahad L'Kner Shel Chanukah, not Neirus? It's a mitzvah there every single night.
But you can be Yotzi with one.
Right, that would be the simple explanation. But on the first night, you can't say plural because you're only lighting one. So therefore, since the first night you're saying only on one, we just kept it that way. Low plug, low chilkul. Can make a difference other nights as well. That's the simple explanation. Make a hadin from the letter of law, all you need is one. Just like Chanukah. By the way, there's a whole Lamdisha piece that Rav Shach has, if I'm not mistaken, in the Avi Ezri on the Rambam in Hilchos Chanukah. He says, wait a second. The Gemara in Shabbos Chaf Aleph says you can fulfill your obligation just with one candle even on the 8th night. Why doesn't it say that in Shulchan Aruch in the beginning of Sivin Tafrei Shayin Aleph? Right, so we'll have to learn about that. Now, according to what Rabbi Akiva Eger says in the Shalos and Shuvah Siman Yud Gimel, that you don't make a bracha on a Hiddur mitzvah when you go above the basic and minimal obligation, that makes sense that it's not in the plural tense because you're only filling your obligation with one, like we just said before. Next, they're going to comment on Shelach Hanukkah. Okay, whatever. So it's all applicable. No, there's this last point. All right, so this is the Oz Vahada Mishna Berura. Sharatzion said, what about the 8th night? They point out, 8th night, if you're not going to say Shachianu now, you're going to lose it. So he says, you could say Shachianu even in the marketplace. Possible, so too over here. Preferably, they said you do it when you light, though, however. Oh, wow. It's tremendous. I didn't realize how long this thing is. I'm not going to try to jump into and rush that.
We'll do a quick Chazara on everything we did today.
No, I want to do this. The Arizal says, we'll get a Chazar at the end of the Simon, don't worry. The Arizal
No, but
says,
actually,
what?
No, I know.
Let's just see what he says quickly in the remaining minutes that we have. What happened to the thing?
All right.
It's not on a screen share. What happened to the thing?
No.
So the Arizal comes along and says that the text is like the Shulchan Aruch lahadlik ner Chanukah. That's what like I was saying. Nusach's hard. Okay, now he talks about Lizman versus Lazman. It's from Magen Avram, Marshal, the Shlah. However, based on the rules of Dikduk, you could say Lazman Hazeh. And that's in the Bir Harash Soifer, and also in the Samach Zorim, as well as the Yabates, and that is the custom to say Lazman Hazeh. And I think that is the custom. And it's very interesting because this would be a place where we're really not going to go like the Mishna Berura. Who am I to say that what's the custom and not? Meaning, I'm just spitting back what he's saying. But from my experiences, you do Lizman Hazeh?
I think.
Yeah, David, what do? You do Lizman or Lazman?
La,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Lazman, Hazeh.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So he
Lazman,
says the
Hazeh.
custom of his father was to do Lizman.
Really?
Okay, no. So what to rely on either side. So, anyways, so for our homework tonight, I'm gonna try to just review this whole thing over here, see if it's anything that's worthy to quote in tomorrow's session, and then we're gonna start with the next sif tomorrow. The reason why this sif took a little bit longer is because there was a nice bath going into the Shachianus.
Okay.
All right, yeah, good stuff. Everyone should have a wonderful day. Bruchim tov.
All right.
Shkach.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Yeah, got that. No for.
This one will have to.
Well,